Hey, what's up everybody? It's Brendan Hauser with EVOQ Bike. So I rode past an athlete that I've chatted with on Strava and through email, and he was talking about VO2 Max training coming out of base and made the comment of, I've been listening to what you're talking about, riding more endurance, I'm hitting awesome numbers, I'm doing one hard workout a week, but as I come out of base and I want to do more VO2 Max, in the past I've done 3x3s, which I'm starting to think are maybe a little bit short. But when I went and did 5x5s, I was exploding after 2, and then my workout was kind of screwed up. Like, what should I do? And so I want to talk about that in this case, and then also a different athlete that was getting most of his VO2 max from longer efforts. And just this will hopefully help you dial in the ones that you should be doing. The caveat to this video is there is no one way to train VO2 max. There is no one specific workout. There is no one way to necessarily even gauge it. As I talk to different coaches, some people are very much in I go by power only. People need to be going really hard by power. I talk to other coaches and they more follow the heart rate response. Are they accumulating time at 90% heart rate max or more? I find, as you've watched this channel, I'm very much always, I think both are really important. And I'll explain why I have that viewpoint, because I came from the power camp. I'm relatively new to really incorporating heart rate into training. I think there's some really good pieces, and I think in this athlete's instance, it is a valuable workout that he can do to help bridge the gap from 3x3s to 5x5s. So one thing, make sure you're well recovered when you do a VO2 Max session. If you're kind of tired, if you're coming off of a big ride from the weekend and you're trying to do it on Monday, maybe even Tuesday, if you can't go hard enough, you're not going hard enough to elicit the response to the stimulus that you're putting on your body. So maybe you wait until Wednesday. The other piece is make sure that you are well fueled. You want to lean your diet towards carbohydrates, and we have a ton of videos on that if you don't know what that means. But make sure you have enough fuel. Don't go out feeling weak and wimpy and trying to do VO2 Max. It's just a wasted session. If you're feeling that way, you should just be riding endurance. So to this point, I've mentioned in other videos, I've never received the email, hey, I've done more endurance like you said, and I'm having worse numbers. The email that I do get is, wow, I've just done 2, 3, 4 blocks of mainly aerobic endurance work with just one hard workout, and now when I go hard, I'm really going hard. And that's what this athlete is seeing in his own training, and I hope that you can adapt that to your training. But let's talk about real briefly, why are we training VO2 Max? What is going on when we are training at this 110, 15, 20, 30% FTP? Really, essentially, we are training our cardiac output or stroke volume. VO2 max is known as the maximal oxygen uptake, and it's the measurement of a person's maximum rate of oxygen consumption during intense exercise. I had to read that definition to make sure I had it right. So really, the volume of oxygen per kilo of body weight per minute. And that's why kilograms matter to the VO2 max number that athletes see in WKO or other, Garmin estimates, etc. It's not estimated, it's the modeled VO2 max. So I reached out to Landry and I said, hey man, real question, what would you say is the point of VO2 max training? And I loved his answer because he said for newer riders, we tell them increasing VO2 max and cardiac remodeling. That is, riding at this intensity is going to change a lot physiologically in your body. For more trained athletes, he said, like ourselves, it's less likely that we're going to be remodeling with VO2 max. So it's really more, and he gave 6 great bullet points. Number 1, getting the body accustomed to sustained high power outputs. I think this is really underestimated. Number 2, lactate clearance. When you are going super hard, are you keeping things aerobic and actually able to shuttle and clear lactate before a next bout of going hard? Number 3, topping off your VO2 max before the race season via other mechanisms such as plasma volume and enzymatic adaptations. Number 4, which I think goes along with number 1, the mental training. Number 5, race-specific preparation. And then number 6, mitochondrial adaptations, which I do believe others could argue are achieved through the endurance rides. But there definitely is a relation between the high power output that you get from training at high wattage and the high power output that you get from training at the low level endurance. So maybe there's mitochondrial adaptations that stem from both of those trainings. That's beyond what I know. You will hear coaches talk about heart rate being correlated to VO2 max and oxygen consumption. So that is why we hear, hey, if you get to 90% heart rate max, you most likely are training near your VO2 max. Is it better to train at 95%? Is it better to train at 90%? Even that is not a consensus answer. Some say you don't want to go too hard. Some say you want to go full blast. So again, I think a mix is a really good thing to incorporate so you're hitting all bases. So what do we tell this athlete? Hey, how do you go from 3x3 to 5x5? Number one, if you're going from 9 minutes of work to 25 minutes of work, that is a big jump. You obviously want to go 3x3, and then you want to do 5x3, meaning 5 3-minute intervals. And then what about 4 minutes? Elongate the interval, but also once you hit 3 minutes, and really when I think of VO2 max intervals and I'm doing them by power, 2.5 to 3 minutes, I've been doing them long enough that hey, just stop doing it voice comes in, but I can turn that volume down a little bit and keep going, and I'm accustomed to doing these. Not saying they ever get easier, but I just know how to mentally deal with them. That's the mental training that Landry's talking about. But if you struggle going to 4 minutes, 4 is definitely going to be harder than 3. 5 is a long interval. This might be where you shift to some heart rate and saying, hey, I'm going to do the first 5 minutes by power. Now I know that I'm just suffering like a dog and I can't hit the power, but are you getting to that 90% heart rate max? Finish the third, do the fourth, do the fifth. Going through that process is going to help you do the third by power, then eventually the fourth by power, then the fifth. This might take you a while to get to. I read sometimes in forums, I couldn't do it. So people just say, just turn the power down. You're too tired. Maybe you're just not good at it yet. And that's okay. It took me a long time to get used to going hard enough in VO2 max training to really be training VO2 max. I was more getting my VO2 max training from longer threshold efforts, and that was also because that was kind of how I rode. That was the racing that I did, sharp accelerations, spiking my heart rate without realizing I was doing this, like hard start, 8 to 9 minute efforts, but I wasn't as good at doing these 3, 4, 5 minute intervals. But there's definitely benefit to them. And to Landry's point, number 5, there's going to be times in races where you want to have that in your tool belt. It doesn't mean that every workout has to have 3-minute VO2 max. It doesn't mean that every workout has to have 5-minute VO2 max. It doesn't mean that you always need to be doing long VO2 max, because guess what? Obviously you can't do them all. But being able to do all of them through a few months of training and then seeing which ones am I doing okay at? Which ones do I suck at? Maybe I need to focus more on those. So I think finding a way to bridge the gap from early season VO2 max that are going to probably be tough to do by watts, use heart rate. Then look at watts. Then look at a combination of both. Before races, maybe you want to be doing short ones because they're going to be harder. Maybe you're doing your 3-minute ones at 130%. As I'm saying this, you might be saying, Brendan, you're making my head spin. There's so many options. And that's exactly the point. There is a cornucopia of VO2 max that you can do and that you can reap benefit from. There is no one perfect way to do this, but I would really tap into what are you struggling with, and let's go in on what's the difficulty here, and then try and peel that onion back and uncover that and get better at that. The other thing that a different athlete had said, I don't like doing long VO2 max. I'm only doing short VO2 max efforts. The interesting thing was his heart rate never really got super elevated during those. And he said that the one thing that he sucked at was these 4 to 8 minute efforts in races. So I said back to him, hey, so shouldn't that be a little like, hey man, that's a little carrot. Go work on those. Because if you're bad at things, that's what you want to improve on. You don't have to try and be a 10 across the board at everything. You're not going to be amazing at everything in cycling. You're going to have some bright spots. What you want to avoid is having, out of a 1 through 10, you don't want to have 2s and 4s, because when those happen in a race, we're in deep trouble, right? We want to have a 6, an 8, a 9, and a 7. So don't aim for perfection, but try to eliminate the weak points in your armor. So I said to this athlete, let's look at what rides do you get the most adaptation, whether it's by hitting 90% heart rate max or by hitting, I loaded him up in WKO, or by hitting even just 85% VO2 max, which is an algorithm in WKO that uses EWMA power. When we looked, all of the best VO2 max training was actually coming from things like 4x10 threshold efforts. He had a 4x8 super threshold effort that he did from Steven Seiler's workouts. But none of the VO2 max training that he thought he was doing was actually really training VO2 max. He was never really going hard enough. So for that athlete, he really needs to look at what VO2 max kitchen is he going in. He's not cooking up the right things. He needs to move away from the 40-20s and start doing some of the things that he's not naturally good at. With that, hopefully this helps you find your way through. There's a lot of examples on our blog of VO2 max training you can do. This is not a shill. For people that have asked me, hey, I want more knowledge on when to do certain VO2 max workouts, and I also want to have files made for me, Landry and I put together the VO2 Max pack that answers all of these questions and does it all for you. It's $49. It's pretty much a no-brainer. So if you need that, that's in our Training Peaks store. Landry, thank you for your contribution to this. And everybody, good luck with your training. Hopefully this helps you dial in your hard workouts so you're going really hard. And we'll talk to you soon. See ya.